Hello everybody. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at all of my investments in the Stash app in my $1,000 portfolio, and I currently am invested in 16 companies and ETFs. And people who might be watching who have huge portfolios must be thinking, what? You're invested in 16 different stocks and you only have $1,000 in the stock market? Well, with Stash it's super easy to invest in partial shares in different companies. And they just make it so easy, so why not diversify? And I just really have a belief in so many different companies that they're going to expand. So I invested in so many different stocks because it's super easy, and I believe in the future of those companies. You may be thinking, why am I only at 2% return on my $1,000 portfolio? And it's because I really just slowly started building up over time. The last few $100s of this I've just invested in the last week, so it hasn't really had much time to go up, and I think over time I'm going to see a lot of growth, and at the end I'm going to get to one stock that I'm currently seeing a big loss on, but I think is really going to blow up, and it's actually at a 52-week low right now. So that shows in my overall portfolio, and it's one of my biggest positions, and I'll get to that stock at the very end of the video. So here are my stocks with the best returns right now. We've got Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and Match the Market, which is an ETF that kind of resonates with the S&P 500. And Google and Amazon were actually my first investments in Stash. And my first investment into Amazon, which was only $25, actually is at over a 15% return right now. I actually made a video on Google on my channel if you want to check it out, on why I still think they're such a strong buy right now. We think of Google as a huge market cap company right now, and they're not still expanding, but they're still expanding globally, and they're still able to make more on their advertisements on the current markets they're already in. Amazon's just constantly expanding by getting into new industries, and they're almost monopoly right now if you really think about it. They really don't have any major competitors against their entire company. Microsoft as well is just involved in so many different sectors, and they're still expanding globally as well, similarly to Google. And a fun fact is that these three companies, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, are the three biggest in the world in cloud storage, which is rapidly expanding, which could be a small portion of the reason why these are my biggest returning stocks. And then lastly, there's Match the Market. So I know that the market in the US is going to continue to grow for at least another year or so. So I threw $100 into Match the Market, which I think is a great idea for everyone to do. Next up, we have Activision, Blizzard, Apple, and Alibaba. Activision Blizzard, for those of you who don't know, is a huge video game company or in the gaming industry. And there's a couple reasons I invested in Activision Blizzard. One is I see them for long-term growth. I actually see all these companies as great stocks for long-term growth. And also, they're coming out with Modern Warfare 4 and Modern Warfare 2 Remastered this year, I believe. And those are probably going to be great sellers. And then the gaming industry is also just doing extremely well, so they're probably going to be a really good long-term investment. Apple is actually close to their 52-week high, similarly to Microsoft, but I'm not so much investing for a short-term profit. I just really see them doing great long-term. Then there's Alibaba. I'm not really going to get much into what they do. They're involved in a lot of different sectors as well, but they can be kind of thought of as the Amazon of Asia. Next up, I've got Berkshire Hathaway, Netflix, and Slow and Steady, which is a low volatility ETF, similarly to my Match the Market ETF. And you may be wondering why I have $25 in some stocks, $50 in other stocks, and then over $100 in others. And it's really just how much I value the stock and how much I see their long-term growth and how much I want to be invested in that stock. So if I only have $25 in a stock, it means I like the company, I like their values, but I don't necessarily see them blowing up or short-term or long-term. Berkshire Hathaway is Warren Buffett's ETF, and I really look up to him, and I think he's an amazing investor, and who can really say that he's not, being the third richest person in the world. And then a ton of people are bearish on Netflix, but they have so many amazing shows, and people think that there are so many competitors for Netflix that are coming into the market, but I really don't see them giving up much market share in the near future, and I think they're going to be a great investment for long term, and I'll probably end up putting more into Netflix here pretty soon. And then slow and steady, that's just another ETF similarly to my match the market ETF, and I really just don't see the market collapsing or anything like that for at least another year or so. I see the market doing really well for another year. Next up, I've got Boeing, Salesforce, Take-Two Interactive, Delicious Dividends ETF, and NVIDIA. Boeing right now, I think that stock is really undervalued. I'm not like a crazy believer in Boeing against Airbus or anything. I just think that Boeing is undervalued right now because of the recent controversy with the 737s. Next up, I've got Salesforce, which I actually just invested in yesterday, I believe, and they're already up 2.5% almost. And they're involved in cloud computing for customers through companies. And again, with cloud computing, I just see that being huge in the future and huge growth potential. Next up, Take-Two Interactive is in the gaming industry. They made games like Red Dead Redemption and the Grand Theft Auto games. And I just think they make amazing games, and I see them having huge growth potential moving forward. And I think they just make flawless games, so they're going to have a huge edge over competitors. And then Delicious Dividends is an ETF of the biggest dividend companies in the US, and there's not huge growth potential there, but they have like a 4% monthly dividend, which is great. And then lastly is an NVIDIA, and they actually had about 5% loss today, and I think an article came out on Yahoo Finance about how they're going to see less sales in the near future, but I'm not too worried about it. I think that they have huge growth potential, and they're involved in visual computing in two segments, GPU and Tegra processor. Lastly, my second biggest investment is Tesla, which is down at about 11% from where I invested in it. And so many people are bearish on Tesla right now because they had disappointing earnings for the first quarter. But I really think Tesla is a great investment, and they are the future of cars with autonomous driving and electric vehicles. And I actually made a video about why I think Tesla is a great buy right now. It's actually one of my very first videos. So if Tesla weren't at about a 52-week low right now, I would probably be sitting at about a 4% return on my $1,000 portfolio, and that's for just getting started in the stock market. I hope to make another video in a few months and give you an update about all my investments and where I'm sitting at on my return. Here are some honorable mentions of companies I'm thinking about investing in the very near future. We've got Raytheon, Norwegian Cruise Line, Verizon, Advanced Micro Devices, and MasterCard. And I see great growth potential in all of these different companies. I'm just waiting for the right time to invest. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below. And if you want to see a more in-depth look at any of these stocks, please let me know in the comments down below. Or if you have any questions about these stocks or Stash in general, leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. And subscribe if you're interested in the stock market, or if you want to see that video I'll be uploading in a few months where I give you an update on my portfolio, the new companies I've invested in, maybe a bit of shares I've sold. Just subscribe for more future videos on that and future updates. We'll see where I'm at in a few months. Hopefully, I hope to be at about 8 to 10% return on my investments.